Hey y'all, welcome back to another video. So today we'll be talking about running scripts remotely. So we're going back and going over Powershell for sysadmins. Appreciate it if you leave a like and subscribe. If you have any other content that you want to see, definitely leave it down below. Otherwise, just message me with anything you're interested in seeing. So talking first, we'll go over, it says working with script blocks. So go back into creating this file, like I always do. So go in here, and it says function, and then new thing, and then inside here, param, inside parentheses, and then we're going to write to host. So you just want to create this string inside of new host, and then we're going to call it thing. Boom. Just like that. It says because we're calling the function after the fact, and it's going to write exactly what it is. So $ new thing. Do your right tag host, parentheses hi. In a script block. And then if we do new thing, just like that. And then if we do and $new thing, and it'll just write exactly what it is. So the reason it says and, to tell PowerShell to run the code inside, you need to run the ampersand followed by the variable name. So doing the ampersand and $new thing, that will be the one that writes the script block. So we'll talk about using invoke commands to execute code on remote systems. So we're getting to the remote system part. So we have invoke command. And then it says it wants us to write script block inside of it. So what we can do, and we'll show all this. Boom. Create this in here. Like that. And then we'll do invoke tag command. And then we'll do tag script block. And then we'll do host name. Inside curly brackets, and then tag computer name, and then web server 1. Alright, just like that, we're able to run it. Connecting to a remote server web server failed. The reason being is we don't actually have that created, so. Notice output name is now the remote computer in the system, so we'd have to have the actual computer and able to actually write to that computer. So we'd actually have to have web server with a DNS and then have that associated with one of the other ones. So it says then we can go invoke tag command, computer name, web server 1, file path, :get host name.ps1. So go here, and then the differences go in here, 3 quotes outside of that, and then you can do tag file path, get host name.ps1. And actually, instead of a script block, it wants us to tag computer name and then do the web server 1, which isn't going to work because we need that actual remote web server and able to run to. So we have that, and then we can do, go down here, and go server file path, then equal that to c:/file txt. So then we can go like this. And then the difference is computer server block. And then instead of there, so we'll do invoke tac command, tac computer name, web server 1. And then with that, we'll do tac script block. And then write host the value of foo is server file path. And then all of that, triple quotes, like that, boom. Just like that, boom. So it's not able to find that remote system, which is the web server 1, but if it could, then it would be able to write to it, which then would write that. So it would then be going write the value of the foo is the file name, which is that file that we looked up, which is the c:/files.txt. So then next we'll do invoke command, and I'll do computer name web server 1, and then we'll do web server 1, and then we'll do script block, and then we're going to do write host the value of foo is $ parentheses $args in brackets, and then outside of the parentheses quotes, and then argument list server file path. So then that will ask us what we want to have. So, which will say the server file path, which will be what we specified earlier. It's going to fail out, just like every single one of them have, because we don't have the remote server. So, the difference now is it says using the $using statement to pass variable values. So it's invoke tac command, tac computer name, server 1, script block, write host, the value of foo is $using, server file path. So it says another way to pass the value of local variables to remote script block is with using the $using statement. You can avoid using the argument list parameter by prepending the $using to any local variable's name before the PowerShell sends the script block to the remote computer. It will look for using the $using statement and expand all the local variables inside the script block. So how we'll change this up, grab this from before, go here, and then the difference is instead of all of this like that, and then it goes $using server file path, and just like that. So it's just this $using. That would be the only difference that you're changing up. Alright, so then creating a new session. So with new sessions, it's new tac ps session, and then from here it's computer name, and then it's where we want to connect to, which would be this web server. So obviously not able to connect. We've dealt with this many times before. And then we have $session equals get ps session. So, and then we do $session, and at that point it would show the connection. So it's showing ID and name, computer type, state, configuration name, and availability. all of these are going to be the machine and all of its connections. So it says next part on page 98 is invoking commands in a session. So a session is keeping that connection. So we do invoke command session, and then we do $session. Make sure you're spelling everything correctly. Tap script block, and then hostname. So then opening an interactive session. So we're just going to copy this. We have this saved. And then the next command we're going to run is enter PS session. And then web server 1. So this will enter you into the connection. Rather than automatically connecting, it'll enter into it. So it says listed in ATAC 4 using the invoke command sends a command to a remote computer and receives a response. Running a remote command like this, running an unmonitored script, it's not interactive as you're punching keystrokes in the PowerShell console. If you want to open an interactive console, the session running on a remote computer for troubleshooting, for example, you can enter TAC PS session command. So that's the difference, is you actually get on the box and you're actually able to do commands. So we got that, and then this is interactive, so just specifying that. And then we have the invoke TAC command session script block foo, and then what that foo is going to do is then you want to specify So if you close your PowerShell console, opening it back again and try to use the invoke command, the session will previously working and you will receive an error. So the $session equals get TAC PS session, and then the computer name, and so it'll automatically connect because that's a session that you want to establish the connection to. So that variable does have to be reestablished every time the PowerShell is closed and able to reconnect it. So you can do get TAC PS session and then pipe that to disconnect PS session, and you will be disconnected. So here it goes on to, there is a function called $PS version table. PS version table. This will show the version of your current box. So that is a command that you're able to run remotely. We ran it locally, but if you were to do enter PS session and you had a machine that you're able to connect to and you knew that IP, you'd be able to connect to that one, and then you'd be able to actually run this command and grab that information back. So how you would do that would be like this. Invoke TAC command, computer name, web server 1, script block, and then inside of this script block, you're running that PS version. And that will then enumerate that system from afar. So what you can also do, if you want to get rid of your sessions, you can do get TAC PS session, and then pipe that to remove PS session. So we have this. This is to remove connection. And then if we wanted to delete connection, we got this, but we have the delete command disconnect. Disconnect. So both of those are looking for that PS connection, PS session, and then disconnecting or removing. A little bit different because one is completely wiping it while one is just taking that connection away. So we have the double hop problem. The double hop problem has been an issue ever since Microsoft added the PowerShell remoting feature. This problem arises when you're running code inside of a remote session and then attempt to access the remote resources from the remote session. For example, if you're using a domain controller called DC on your network and you want to check out the files on the root of C by using the C$ administrator share, you can browse the share remotely from your local machine without any issue. So you'd issue the get tag child item, tag path, and then you do it in single quotes, //gc/C$ inside single quotes. So then you'd be able to look at that. But then, if you did that exact same thing inside of your inter-PS session, you would then run into a problem. So, it says double hopping with cred SSP. In this section, you will learn how to work around the double hop problem. I say work around instead of fix for a reason. Microsoft has warned that using cred SSP is a security problem, as the credentials passed to the first computer is automatically used for all connections from that computer. This means if the original computer is compromised, that the credentials can be used from that computer to connect to other computers across the network. So, as the administrator, know when you're using improper practices and when you should have a greater watch on things like this. This is more of a troubleshooting issue than an everyday solution to things. There's actions that you have for just being able to get something done right now, and then there's actions for long-term use, and this is not one of those long-term uses. This is one of those that you're just trying to get stuff done right here in the moment. So it says to get cred SSP to work, you may have to relax a local policy. If you receive permissions errors when enabling cred SSP, be sure to enable all allowed delegating saved credentials with NTLM TAC only server authentications. So a couple issues that we might arise. That's kind of the thing with troubleshooting. You have that quite often. So the command we would be running if we had a remote session would be this. Boom, tag role, client, delegate, computer, web server 1, force, and the force is going to get it done. So then all you'd have to do is do attack Y or just Y after the fact of this and able to get it all to work. So, and then if you want to do this remotely, and able to get this done remotely, do invoke tag command computer name, web server 1, script block, enable tag ws man cred sp tag role server. So then that'll get it done. Now you'd have to attack Y after the fact. So, and then with that you can enable cred SSP on both the client and the server, and the client allowing its using credentials to be delegated to the remote server, and the remote server has cred enable itself. Now you can try to access remote network resources from that remote session again and see. Note that if you ever need to undo enabling the command disable ws man cred SSP will revert your changes. So that would be the only thing that you'd have to do and able to remove that change. So yeah, and that's everything with chapter 8. So next week we'll go over chapter 9. If you have any questions, let me know down below. I know it comes a little bit more difficult. I probably should have a remote VM. I'm going to see later on if I'm going to have to need a remote VM able to connect to. But as of right now, it looks like the next one is testing with Pester, which is quality control, being able to look at everything. So we'll see that. Let me know what you think. Peace.